Welcome to the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club.
So off from the race line we go. Our riders away here on Sunday Race Club. It's going to be a real hard kick here. Up they go at the race. Look at this. Who's on the front? Who's on the attack? It's Rebecca Gilson. She's at 6 watts per kilo. Has she snapped them? No, she hasn't yet. And this is a short climb. It's already starting to level. Nobody wants to work for 33.5k and let a gap go. But Bauer is now pushing. She's pushed over the top. This is not a Bauer attack. Bauer can attack much more watts per kilo than this. But she's kept the pressure on. She's rolled over the top here and has kept that pressure on the group. She's now gone just in a 2.2 watts per kilo from Jojo Bauer. I'm not sure who my money would be on. They've got the lap riders on the way through. Remember, Gilson has been the rider to beat, but Maria Marin is on form. Are we going to see a new name on top of the standings here today? Has she got the power? Cavado goes on the sprint with Gilson. They're side by side tumbling in. Gilson has the lead, but Cavado's coming on the right-hand side here. Has Cavado got anything more? She needs a few more watts. She's pushing on the side of Gilson. They're side by side. Cavado.
So hello and welcome to the Sunday Race Club here on MyWhoosh with me, Matt Payne. We're in Qualifier Race number 4 on the 23rd of October 2022, and we are looking forward to some amazing racing. When I say me, it is myself, Matt Payne, and it is Professor Emma Martin. Got to give her a full title, which I think she earned it. And Emma, of course, regular DS Director Sportif for esports teams, as well as a regular rider, racer, and of course, a regular statistician for us here, as well as bringing some much needed in-race expertise from somebody who's been recently on that national circuit. And we've got a great course, haven't we, Emma?
We have indeed today, Matt. Hello, everybody. It's great to be with you for today's Women's Challenge. So the course facing our racers today, 35 kilometres of racing with 535 metres of climbing. And over half of that climbing is on our final climb today. So really good course today. We go out on a rolling course till we get to about 6 kilometres to our first climb. It's not steep, but it is long, 3.3 kilometres in length. Then we see another long rolling section taking us to 30.1 kilometres today. And our final 4.9 kilometre climb, 3.7% average. But let's remember, that's an average. So we're going to see some steeper sections today. We've also got our segments today. So 7 segments in total, 3 at 1k, 1 at 2.5k, 1 at 3k, and 2 at 5 kilometres in distance. And these will give us a really good insight today into the dynamics of the race field.
And we have a very similar profile to the men's race field, where we saw an amazing race. If you haven't watched it, make sure you go back and give it a watch on the YouTube channel. Now, in terms of teams, Category 1 of fastest riders, it is the Fusion Squad CM Team, Spartan Obstacles, and Las Colombianas in there. The finals in September saw Las Colombianas taking that top spot, but all of our teams regulars in the top 3. And when it comes to racing, and it's going to be very interesting to see where they end up today. And lots of individual riders as well, Emma.
Yeah, so 28 riders in our Category 1 on the start sheets today, along with the 4 teams. And some real mix of riders who we would expect to be in there, and a few new names as well.
And of course, those Category 1 riders battling it out for prizes today in that individual category, as are our Category 2 riders, where we have the Team RT Cycle Zone Ladies 1, the Whooshers, Team Fitness 10 Try Women, and the team from Golden Light as well, all of which contain some incredibly strong riders. But again, we've got some new names, I think, on the start sheet in our individual riders.
Yeah, so 26 riders today on our Category 2 start line in those green jerseys, 5 teams, as we can see in front of us. And again, some regular names, but also a few new riders, and it will be interesting to see who we can pick out during the action today.
And of course, in our Category 3, Climber Girls, the ever-present Climber Girls, who deserve a prize just for being absolutely every single race and up there racing really well in there. People like Maria Jose Gallego and Adriana Barco. But again, another big field of riders with some very fast riders like Sarasuk and Poulton, Cabanatan and Sabala as well.
Yeah, some class category 3 riders today taking on this course. 18 riders and the one team today in category 3. So 71 riders on our start sheets today and 10 teams in total facing the course that's in front of you on the screen now. So I'm looking forward to some really dynamic racing, and I think it's going to be a big kick off the start line because we've got around 6k of rolling land before we hit that first climb. So it's going to be interesting to watch and see what happens as to whether we end up with a big pack rolling through that segment or whether we start to see some race kicking off early.
Indeed, and you can see down on the start line, that grid, that pack down there, plenty of blue jerseys for our category 3 riders, green for category 2 and our category 1 riders lined up.
They are indeed, and they are lined up and ready to go, Matt, as the power goes down and our riders head off of the start line today. So we are in with BR Head as we start to see a big kick at 7 watts per kilo. So BR Head is keen to make it to the front of that pack and kick hard off the start line to make sure she doesn't miss any early selection today.
And this kick is critical, isn't it, Emma? It's super important to get out of there quick.
It is indeed, because that early selection that we can see here forming on the screen today is absolutely essential that you make sure you are in the right place off that start line. And that is one of the key things about esports racing. Often that early selection is absolutely important. If you have a problem on the start line, you don't make the selection, and then it's a very different race for you.
Well, in 30th place and pushing on is Elizabeth Van Heuling up to 27th at the moment, one of our big favourites to move up and through. And there's a lot of racing going on, isn't there, Emma, which does affect who's racing, who's riding, who's on a recovery week, who's on a race week.
Yeah, so we sort of think, don't we, that the road season is coming to an end and actually now people are going into their off season. But for a lot of riders, you know, depending upon which discipline you come from, cyclocross is literally really kicking off. Tabor, one of the World Cups, is taking place today. You know, there's lots of local and national races going on as well. A huge amount of esports racing really kicks off in the winter season as well. You know, so still a huge amount of racing taking place, and these riders are in very different stages of their training programs and racing programs, very different seasons and very different cycles. So we'll see people really strong and we'll see people targeting different things. And let's not forget, Matt, some of these riders in this race today are esports specialists. Others are road specialists or time trial specialists. You know, so we saw Faye Faber take the World Grand Fondo Championships time trial for her age category not long ago, a regular racer on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. So it really depends what background and what targets these athletes have as to how dominant and how strong they're riding at the moment.
So that leading a pack of our riders who are feeling strong today up there, and a real mix. Plenty of category 3 and category 2 and category 1 riders in the battle as they take the left-hand turn here. Our camera tracking them around the corner here, around this turn. Remember, this is rolling terrain until we reach that first climb at 5.9k. So although there may not be something to split out our category 1 and category 2 riders, we are expecting to see riders who are maybe aren't as strong then start to get in trouble and then start to get distance a little bit early. But let's see what happens as we go through that draft. So important. Remember, MyWhoosh utilizing that draft and making sure that it represents real life. If you're sat behind a rider, your numbers will be green. The watts will be green, as we see Giuliano at the moment tucked in behind the group, 250 watts, but stayed in the draft with those green numbers as she puts the nose out the front or gets dropped off the back too far. Then they will go to black, and that will mean she's having to do the work herself, pushing the draft out of the way. It's only a percentage, of course, and it varies dependent on your speed, your height, your body mass. It depends on your shape, and of course, it even depends on the kit that you're riding.
It does indeed, but actually knowing how to draft and making the most of the draft is an absolute key technique to esports racing. And one of the reasons why we see those yellow those I was going to say those yellow jersey riders with such good green numbers, because our riders are absolutely past masters of the ability and the technical use of drafting.
Yeah, and if you're watching in black and white, then you need a colour monitor. So I'll ride us into the very first of our segments. At the moment, the segments are individually timed on the way through. If you're watching this for the first time, then welcome to MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. It is a scratch race, so first past the post wins. We have 3 race categories with prizes in each of our 3 race categories. The total race distance, 35 kilometres. The course has 535 metres of elevation. And within the race are 7 individual segments, which are timed discreetly. So the clock starts when the rider hits that start line and it finishes when they go to the end, as if they were doing their own mini time trial rather than their position on the course or their time overall. And that is key because it gives us a brilliant snapshot of who's in the groups, where they are, and more importantly, how hard they're working and how hard they're going through that group.
Yeah, and it just might be worth mentioning, Matt, the prizes in this race go from 1st to 5th place in each of those 3 categories. And the first place rider in category 1 winning 10,000 UAD today, which is equivalent to, on today's exchange rate, around $2,700. So it's some significant prize money in this race today, and right the way through those 3 categories.
And of course, that's then supplemented when we get to the finals, which is next week, because there is the team prize. And if I remember rightly, I think it's 50,000 UAD. And I think the last time I looked, that was 12,500 sterling, GB pounds, at that point. It's probably about 20 now, given the way the pound's been working at the moment. But it's going to be really interesting to see who's going to take that away in the team. Now, we've come through our first segment. Let's show you who came through there quick. You're just seeing Nymph Kolkol coming through very quickly in D, 2.9 seconds quicker, in fact, than anybody else. But Nymph not in the very first rider through the line, but the one with the fastest time. But when you look there, you've got some really regular names here. Try Women's Elenia Chinelli. We've got Lynette Cabinetta. We've got Olivia Quintero, Manuela Sanchez, Angela and Hadlock in there. And these riders continuing to push through. But you notice there, Karut Quevedo came through a little bit behind in the back, either the back of that group or a little bit off the pace. And that could be telling for the winner of last week's race, because Quevedo came through there with the fastest time, but I think that means that she is chasing, and that is not good news for the riders on the way through. Look here, you can see Nymph Kolkol, after going through that pace very, very fast in category 3, is just in front of Karut Quevedo. So Quevedo, the winner of qualifier number 1 and number 3, 4th in qualifier number 2, currently just behind this rider, Nymph Kolkol, in 42nd place, 20 seconds down here on this rider, and about just over 25 seconds down on the leading group. So we'll have to see how that is going to play out. I think not the best start there, and that certainly looks to be the case. Here she comes, 41st place at the moment for Karut Quevedo. Quevedo with that amazing sprint last time out, and I think she's not had the best of starts here, but could be that she's going to ride around and use it to stretch her legs out and just test, see how she's riding, get that time in. Because if you are riding in the platform just to keep your legs going, what better thing to do than ride on a race route that you're going to no doubt use in the future? Feel how the racing goes, feel how the riding is, watch the racing in progress, feel how people react, watch how other people react on that course.
Yeah, and Quevedo, you're right, Matt, does have an amazing sprint, and we have seen that in action many times. But on today's course, if Quevedo has had an issue at the beginning, I would be thinking, right, there's a large pack. This is a rolling course, and actually there's a significant climb at the end. It's highly likely that the very large group of riders are going to go into that final climb at 30.1 kilometres together. So thinking about that, if I was Quevedo, I'd be thinking, they're not going to be moving that quickly because they're going to keep that group together. So if I sit at a good time trial pace, I can close that gap, because we know the way the technique on this platform works, that actually we've seen Bauer do it before, actually, where Bauer had a shocking start one time and she nearly caught the group, and she just sat at a solid time trial pace regardless of whether it was going up, down or flat, and she nearly made the catch. She was literally within 800 meters, I think, of the lead group as they went over the finish line. So it can be done, and you can get round a really bad start.
Well, we're going to get a snapshot on that, aren't we? Because we've just gone into our next segment here. And the last numbers I saw from Karut Quevedo was 4.4 watts per kilo consistently, which when you compare that with the watts per kilo coming out of this group, which is around about the 2.5 to 3.5 generally, that would mean that she is going to be due to close that gap. We'll have a little bit of a look. She certainly had the fastest time on segment number 1. Segment number 2 is also a 1 kilometer segment. Now, segment 1, that was covered. The time for Quevedo was a 1:38.750. But remember, of course, each segment is different and they're not going to produce the same results. But will we have her bringing in the fastest time as they come in and through? Currently on this long left-hand turn, it's a 1% rise at the moment. So a long sweeping turn here, 6 kilometers covered for our riders, and moving very well indeed.
Yeah, they are. So we're in with Liliana Moreno, a really strong rider, taking these bends. As you can see, this course is just switching right, left in front of us. This is a big group, and they are riding really comfortably. Whilst we're seeing 3.74 watts per kilo on the front, we've got riders further down in this group sitting very comfortably at 3 or even sub 3, as we start to see a little push on the front and a little stretch of the legs just to try and stretch that group. And you can see that dynamic beautifully in that top right hand corner, where you can see the different color blobs on the screen. You can see it blob up. We've got 2 separate blobs at the moment, or stretch out into a long line of riders, which is what it's doing pretty much now.
And we keep on seeing riders yo-yoing and spinning the way in and around. They've gone through that segment, and the time is going to come picking up on screen. So Liliana Moreno taking that fastest time of 1:48. But what we are looking to see is where is Quevedo here. She goes straight in on the top, and no surprises then. She went through there. She got another 6 seconds back in that 1 kilometer. So she's closed down another 6 seconds, takes that fastest time to that snapshot through there. But look at the watch. She's the only rider in the 300s at 309 watts.
Yeah, so Quevedo is, as we said, they're sticking with a really strong time trial pace. In fact, we are in with Karut Quevedo at the moment, as she's comfortably tapping along at around 5 watts per kilo. This is going to be a strong time trialing pace for Quevedo, and she is using this technique of staying at a constant pace regardless of the terrain to work her way through the field. And over the last couple of kilometres, Matt, she's gained 12 places.
And we are on the climb, and that means that that group will have got into the climb. Their watts per kilo may have gone up, but you could see that there were riders for Quevedo to catch and potentially get draft off. And if you have enough of those breadcrumbs, that little trail, it leads you back into that pack by giving you that little bit of advantage. And in fact, sometimes the pace being pushed at the front leaves more breadcrumbs behind, and that then makes it easier for the rider behind to catch rather than harder by pushing on. So we will see what's going to happen as we progress. Madana Degan-Mashandi on the front. Bauer moves up on to her wheel. A little bit of a kick by Bauer. Takes a look behind. That group is still together, but they are moving very quickly. This climb, remember, the first of our climbs is a 4th category climb, and it finished, I think, at 9.47 kilometers, if my mental maths is working well.
That was very specific, Matt. So this climb is 2.6 kilometers in length with an average gradient of 3.5%. So there will be some steeper segments and there will be some shallower segments. But as you can see here, it is starting to stretch this group, and what was a group of 39 going into it is quickly whittling down.
I think it's going to be about 26. We saw Jenny Tan just off the back of that group, then pushing to go back into that group. Tan, a regular second category rider here on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. And once again, we're seeing the lead group with category 1 and 2. Those third category riders just being distance on this climb as that extra power and pace of our category 1 and 2 starts to take its toll. But we will start to see riders, I think, in category 3 start to get distance. And interestingly, this push on the front has meant that Quevedo now back at 16 seconds. So last week's winner not in this group, and I think there's going to be a number of riders who want to take advantage of that.
Well, 16 seconds, Matt, with a climb like we've got at the end of the race today is nothing. You know, we've seen people blow up and a bigger gap than 16 seconds. In fact, gaps up to minutes. So they've gone in with the lead group and then they cross the line 1 minute 30 behind. So 16 seconds on a course like this is nothing today.
It isn't. One rider who we know can climb very well, Novelin Kekkonen in here. Novelin in with Maria Santiago. These riders are pushing along here. I think they've just missed the boat of jumping onto Quevedo. That's an express train I would have wanted to be boarding as it came through past the platform, because Quevedo clearly on a mission to get back across, and I think Kekkonen has realised that. And if Quevedo had the help of riders like Kekkonen, that is all going to help her in her pursuit of those race leaders, because at the moment it is one riders versus the rest. But that point you made, Emma, about not needing to close it right down, probably true, but you've still got to have something left in the tank then to take advantage of the climb.
You do have to have something left to take advantage of the climb. But as we were watching there, as Quevedo went past Kekkonen tried to dig and go with Quevedo, but there was no way Kekkonen could hold the 5 watts per kilo that a rider of the class of Quevedo can hold for a long period of time. You know, Kekkonen would have had to jump really hard to get onto the back wheel, but she would never have sustained it. So actually, she quite quickly realised that actually Quevedo was not going to back off the pace, and actually that was a fool's errand in terms of trying to get on that wheel.
Indeed. So Quevedo continues to push, but that gap in front is there. She's got to keep on going, but she does have them in her sights. So Quevedo's setting a steady pace, trying to get back in touch with her leaders. I think it's one of the reasons why you're not seeing riders like Catherine Fuhr and Elizabeth Van Heuling on the front, teammates of Quevedo. The Spartan Obstacles very smart in their team game, and I suspect all probably talking to each other on Discord or another communications channel.
Oh, definitely, Matt. They want her in that lead group. And as you're quite right, we've not seen them anywhere near the front of this lead group, as Bauer is sitting on the front. And even Bauer is tapping along quite comfortably. You know, I'd be really thinking now, if I was in any other team, you know, Quevedo isn't in this mix. She's pushing on to catch. You know, they're actually making this really easy for her to catch. And if I was on a different team, I'd be probably having to think about that.
And I suppose the only counter argument to that is that you're towing Fuhr and you're towing Van Heuling along without them doing a turn, and you're covering more distance. So you're giving them a free ride. It's not a great counter argument, but it's the only one I can think of not going on the offensive, because if it was me, I would be pushing it on the front and making life as hard as possible when you've got somebody of the talent of Quevedo behind you.
Well, to be honest, Matt, if you've got Van Heuling and you've got Fuhr in the pack, you've got 2-class riders anyway. And in fact, there's more than those 2-class riders in here. Bauer is in here. You know, Hermassen is in here. We've got class category 1 and class category 2 racers in this pack at the moment.
Indeed, and Menezes, one of these riders, Jessica Menezes, another rider who's really improving. Lisa Hermansen, who's on your screen at the moment, putting in some great results going in and through. And I think this really is going to be telling that when we go into the final, you've got riders who are improving all the time. And that, for me, is one of the great things about watching our riders come in. I mean, Lisa Hermansen, a rider who's now starting to take podiums. She got a 3rd place in qualified number 3 in September. She really is in the mix when it comes in to the finals. So we'll get another snapshot. Our riders just going into our next segment at the moment. And this is going to be, I think, is this segment number 3, Emma?
Yeah, we are indeed moving through now the 10-kilometre mark, which notes the start of segment 3. So this is our last 1-kilometre segment today, and the riders are moving through it quite comfortably.
a slightly downhill part at the moment, -1%. That means that the speed, the pace is going up, and this will give us a real indication of who's left in that group. We're just starting to see riders being detached off the back of that group as they come down here. So as they went over the top, a few people maybe just struggling to stay, or maybe just taking a chance to get a breather to get on board some fluids as they come over the top of the climb and starting to the steepest part of the descent. So we go into a very steep descent. It levels, then it drops once again. And I think that is at the moment where our riders are. They're just on that steeper part of the descent. They came over the top of the climb. There was a little bit of a pause over the top, and then dropping down here. The pace nearly 50 kilometers, which is 30 miles an hour.
Yeah, so 27 riders still in this front group, Matt. Quite a lot of them indeed. And we're back in with Lisa Hermassen at the moment. And, I think she's going to be a really strong Cat 2 rider today. I think this course is really going to suit her. She's a long-distance triathlete, Matt, previously, as well as a cyclist. So she's also qualified for the Kona Worlds before. So this type of course where the real hard segment comes at the end, I think she's going to be one to watch in the Category 2 race today.
Indeed, and just taking a little bit of a look at this, you can just see that the riders as they came through, Quevedo came through in the same time. Now, that would normally indicate to me that Quevedo had made contact with that group and had come down with that same pack. It's very coincidental. She went through within 0.168 of the leader going through. So let's have a little bit of a look. I'm sure we're going to have a little bit of a look back at that. And really fast ride there by Jenny Tan, actually taking the fastest time through that segment.
Yeah, it would be good to see if we can pull out where Quevedo is, because I also note that we'd gone from 26 riders in that lead group to 27. So someone has made a catch somewhere.
Well, I think we'll no doubt be able to see as the screens roll through here. Just in with Jenny Tan, just rolling away up towards the front. And I think, to be honest, if I was Quevedo, I'd be either taking a run to the front going, right, I'm here, get on with it then, carry on. Or I'd be saying, I'm going to hide away. I just saw Quevedo come up. I'm sure I did. In this group. So I think you're right, Emma. I think she has made contact there. That 26 to 27 was Quevedo. So the catch is being made. No panics. Don't panic. She didn't. She got in there, no problems at all. Now, interesting to watch our riders here in Category 3. Jackie Giuliano, Olivia Quintero, and looks to me like it's going to be Ella Dadson at the moment in this little group here, just continuing to push. They have got company in the shape of one of our Category 1 riders there. And I think that's Sora Giraldo, but they're working well together. These Category 3 riders putting in a really nice strong ride and taking turns on the front, which is they're motoring.
They are indeed, and they've got a group of Category 3 riders only 5 seconds back, Matt. So I'd be throwing offing and motoring if I was them as well, to make sure that that gap sticks and that 5 seconds stretches out even further.
I remember 5 prizes. You want to be in those top 5. You want to be number 1 if you can. That's true whether you're a Category 3 that we just saw, or Category 2 that we can see on the screens in the green jerseys, or Category 1 in our yellow jerseys. Don't forget, of course, all these riders riding on every Sunday, the Sunday Race Club, which is available. You can jump on. Make sure you go on to www.mywhoosh.com to get on there.
I am chuckling in the studio because we are currently in with Liz Van Heuling, who is currently riding at 2.5 watts per kilo in this lead group. This might be the lead group on the road, but they are not pushing on. That type of pace, look at that heart rate, 153. This is a really, really comfortable pace for a huge number of these riders. So we are 22 minutes into the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club, and this lead group is just starting to stretch its legs, but it's going to be a really interesting race because there are still 27 women in this lead group today.
So 27 women in the leading group, 22 minutes of racing covered, 13K done. Golema pushed on, put a little bit of a deep, but going over the top there went Julie Sanchez, and the pressure is on here. You can just see it's gone from one blob on the road to a big gap, and Bauer's gone over the top there. But this is not huge pace. I mean, we're not talking attacks of 8, 7, 8, 9, 10 watts per kilo, are we? We're talking 3, 4, 5. They're still playing, really.
They are just stretching their legs and making things comfortable. And you can see, look at that. In the middle of that pack, there are still people sat there at around 2 watts per kilo. So those taking the draft in that group are having a really comfortable ride still and have had a real great opportunity to warm their legs up for that final climb.
Well, it does take different riders different amounts of time to warm up. One of my regular riding partners is notorious for it. You absolutely blast off from wherever we start riding, or whether we're in MyWhoosh or we're out on the local roads or on the track. It goes off like an express train. It may take a little bit longer to warm up, but you can guarantee at about 55 to 57 minutes, I'll go past him and he'll have a really bad time and I'll start going quicker and quicker. And that is real illustration that it takes time. And some of our riders will have warmed up prior to the ride, but others won't need to. They'll just come straight in and hit it.
Well, and also, Matt, different riders have different strengths, and we've talked about this before, haven't we? You know, for some of our riders today, you know, the short, sharp, punchy climbs that we've seen in courses before, and quite a lot before actually for these women, have really suited those with really short, sharp, high powers, and they've been able to really kick. You know, we've seen watts come out of 10, 11, 12 watts per kilo from some of these riders on those short, sharp, punchy climbs, but those climbs were no more than 900 meters. Today we've got a very, very different course. We've got two main climbs, one 2.6k, one 4.8k. These are not short, sharp, punchy climbs. This is a very different parkour today, and I think we're going to see a very different riders come to the fore, or those who ride in a very different way. And actually what we're doing and we're seeing with this group of women is actually they're taking a very steady ride to that climb. And I think this is going to be a race of around 6 kilometres.
Well, that's going to be an interesting 6K, and that then would play into those riders who have a brilliant power output for probably 20 minutes or so. It's going to be, if it's 6K, I'll climb. It depends on that pace again and how well people are climbing, and of course what shape it is. It's a very consistent gradient, but 6.2% average gradient for that final climb includes the platform at the top of the climb, because when we go over the top it levels out, and that is going to be really, really interesting, because that means that the steeper sections are going to be steeper, but they are still pretty consistent.
Yeah, they are indeed, as we are flicking back in with Santiago here. This is the group rider number 28, 29 and 30. So this is a chasing group of category 2 riders, and technically this is the chasing group on the road, because the other 27 riders are all in that lead group at the moment.
So a big pack on the front here on Sunday Race Club on MyWhoosh. Our riders pushing a little, but still staying reasonably compact. They're all the way across the road, and it's only when they become strung out in a long line will we start to see the pressure come on those riders really at the back. This a long sweeping downhill at the moment as we start making our way in towards the low point of the course. That comes in at 18.6k. The leaders in category 1 and 2 on the right hand side of your screen, and then we are seeing our leading category 3 rider. That's Olivia Quintero, who has Hyde, Giuliano and Dadson amongst others behind, trying to close her down, but Sora Giraldo along with Olivia Quintero at the moment, just starting to open up a little bit of a gap. But I think Giraldo just giving a little bit of assistance here and taking it in turns to string this along, and maybe we'll be glad of having the riders in as we see Giuliano start to make the catch there. So the riders in the group of category 3 leaders working hard as category 1 leaders go in underneath that gantry, and you can see those times coming up here, and still a real mix of riders, Emma, and that time it's not a blistering pace.
No, it's not. You know, we are on segment 4, so this is a 2.5 kilometre segment, and take a look at the average watts per kilo. You know, 3.1, 2.9. Jessica Menzies there at 4 watts per kilo had been really pushing on there, and probably needs to sit in the pack and actually take a little bit of draft, because that's exactly what a lot of these other women are doing here. Jenny Sanchez, 2.9 average watts per kilo, and those heart rates are so low, still in the 140s and early 150s. So this is a really steady ride for this lead group.
So I think that's testament to that is the group across the road once again. Some great Category 2 riders in here who are regularly up in the mix. Good to see that we've got Catherine Montoya in here. Lutz Kimona also in. Lanteri right in the mix here. And looking strong. A number of our Category 1 riders stayed in maybe a little bit longer because of that pace as well, being just eased off a little bit. But it's always dangerous when the pace goes slow because you know it's likely to explode. You know it's likely to go really hard. And that can mean that you're not going to be able to stay with that group.
Well, also, Matt, it means sometimes you can be a little complacent because look at that. Galuma has gone off the front and kicked to 8 watts per kilo. And I was just going to say, you can be complacent in a large group and think they're going to wait to the final climb and someone can go off the front like Galuma has. Van Hooling responds. Gonzalez goes with her. Olivero now kicking too, because do you know what? A lone rider could go from this group because everybody else is watching each other and they're not responding.
So 17.4k covered. Sarika Galuma goes on the attack here. She's only got a number of fractions of seconds, I think, before that's likely to be closed down. But is this going to be the spot that ignites the fire and the racing is going to go?
Well, it's really interesting, isn't it, Matt? Because the Colombian road rider who's put the kick in is a time trial specialist. And you know what? If she can use that to her benefit, she's going to do really well. But I think we're seeing Manshandi and we're seeing Marin and we're seeing other riders now thinking we can't let her go as Van Hoolen leads the pack to actually close that gap.
You can just see everybody rolling in there, can't you? It was just like, that's not happening. We're not going to let you go. And time trial rider, for those people who don't know the discipline, what would you describe the characteristics of a time trial rider being then, Emma?
Someone who knows their heart rate and their power output relationship really, really well and can sit at a designated level for a long, long time, depending upon the nature of that time trial, whether it's 10 miles, whether it's 25 miles, whether it's 50, whatever the distance, those time trial riders and those time trial specialists know exactly where to sit and how to hold that. We saw that a little bit earlier on, didn't we, with Quevedo actually trying to make the catch. Quevedo knew if she sat between 4.5 and 5 watts per kilo and just kept it steady, she wouldn't blow and she would make that junction. Great example of using time trialing skills to bring a group back. Exactly the same going off the front of a large group here. Still, we're 17 kilometres into a 35-kilometre race. If you can get away from that group and you can keep the power strong enough and you're at a pace that you're not going to blow, a great strategy and tactic if everybody else is looking at each other.
So interesting to see. And of course, then we have our opposites, which are our punchy, fast kickers who maybe just need a little bit of a tow. Or those people who just get bored riding at the same pace all the time, non-stop, for hours on end. I used to daydream far too much, I must admit, when I was time trialing. But very true. It's about being able to know where your limits are, then racing to your strengths. And if you're doing that as a time trial rider, it is about keeping that pace. You won't want it yo-yo, and you won't want too many fast kicks. But Guillermo going clear of the front and then being pulled back into the midst of this group. We're currently approaching 19 kilometers of riding. We're in the midst of segment number 5 out of our 7 segments that give us a snapshot on the world here at MyWhoosh. Give us a snapshot on those times, and that means as our riders continue to push on, it won't be long before we get another indication of who is working hard, who's taking it maybe a little bit steady. But just as importantly, are we going to see the same riders in there? It's a big gap from our leading riders back. Subject to confirmation, I am making it round about the 2-minute marker between the leaders and group number 2 on the road. And that would indicate that realistically, the top riders in both first and second category, the top 5, the prize money winners, are likely to come from this group. I'm not going to guarantee that because, as Emma's already said, you can lose so much time going on a big climb with a good uphill finish. But with that kind of gap, I suspect that's where we're going to see our leading riders in that. But category 3 riders, that was very tight as well. So looks like plenty of people in the fight in category 1, 2 and 3.
Yeah, and isn't that, well, for me, Matt, that is absolutely fantastic because it doesn't matter which category you are in on the Sunday Race Club, you are getting a good race. There are other riders in the category that are of a similar level to you, and there is competition in all 3 categories, and really good competition in all 3 categories. So we are in with Oliveri, sat in the middle or towards the back at the moment of this group. And the group is still ticking along really steadily. We have just over 15 kilometres left of racing. And I say left of racing, I'm not sure the fire has actually been lit beneath this race yet, Matt.
If it's a fire, it's a blooming damp cold one, like our house. We got to we say that. I think we've been spoilt with the men's race. It's often the other way around, but today the men's race was incredibly active from the word go, and there was very little being careful going on at all. Here, people are playing it smart, and whilst it might mean that we're not constantly answering attack after attack, what we are seeing is we've seen that selection made very early. And people sorted it out quickly. They know each other's strengths, and now we're seeing a much more tactical game. And one of the key things for me going on here is every one of these riders is doing some serious thinking. I don't think there's many people just riding on the limit. They're all thinking about how they race. Where am I going to go? When do I want to push on? Am I going to be that lone rider off the front, having an attack? Am I going to be a rider sitting there? Where on this? And the longer it goes, some people will be getting more and more confident as we go up, and some riders will be getting less and less confident.
And I love the fact that the Category 2 riders are the ones who have actually started to think, do you know what? Even I'm comfortable in this. Let's give it to those Category 1 racers as Julie Sanchez pushes on off the front and stretches her legs, because she even thinks there's too many Category 2 riders in that group to take into the finish.
Well, Julie Sanchez is one rider who's never afraid to take on the riders in Category 1. Julie Sanchez, winner of qualifier number 1, winner of qualifier number 3 in the last 2 months, a winner back of a qualifier in July, won all 3 qualifiers back in June, so won a qualifier back in May. She's been second in our finals, but she has not taken a win in the final in Category 2. She's going to be looking, I'm sure, to rectify that next time around. Let's see what happens.
I'm looking at this thinking, are the Category 1 riders going to chase the Category 2 rider who's gone down? Or are they going to leave it to a Category 2 rider to chase? And you know what? They've left it to the Category 2 riders. Absolutely great eyeballing amongst this group, even in a virtual world. As Sinelli is the one to chase, followed by Olsen, followed by Garioni. These first 4 of the first 5 riders are now Category 2 riders as they close down the leading Category 2 rider.
They have indeed, and you saw who responded quickest there. Galuma and Van Heuling in Category 1. They were the riders who went after them, leaving Bauer, Four and Bjarhead a little further back. That's reflected on your screens at the moment. Jarioni, Tri-Woman, went through the fastest time with Galuma and Olsen in that segment. Remember, they all came in together, but not much separating them at all as they came through. So our riders going through that segment, that leading group still continues to push on. 27 riders still in that group of riders going through. So still basically just under 30 riders in contention. So we're in with Morgan Olsen. Morgan had a strong ride. Last couple of rides she's been out. She's been riding very strongly indeed. Been interesting to see her progression as we move onwards. But Morgan taking the win last time out in Category 2. And she really has shown that she's a strong rider. She took the win in qualifier number 2 in September. She's got a win in qualifier number 3 in October. A rider who you cannot discount from being in the fight for those top positions. But the question will be, can she climb as well as some of those other really regular Category 2 riders? Now, just taking a look at this group, we've got Luisa Fernandez at the back of this group. So at the moment, Luisa Fernando or Sergio Gutierrez just distanced, having to fight to get back into this group. She's in 26th position. I think 27th position, Jenny Tan, currently at about 10 seconds down, going to have to do some serious work. But you could just see Louisa just going straight the way through, snowballing through, to use Emma's phrase.
Yeah, definitely indeed. And coming back into that group, so a group now of 26 as we are 37 minutes now into this women's race today. So we are in with the women on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. 22.8 kilometres travelled of a 35-kilometre course. And the women will soon face at 30 kilometres the Category 3 climb that finishes this race today. So as we head under the blue banner, we are heading towards the start of segment number 6. So 7 segments in today's race that give us a time split on how fast these women are travelling. So we are 23 kilometres into this race and we have a 5-kilometre segment. It's rolling lands, which will finish pretty much before we get, this segment will pretty much before we get to the base of the next climb. So it will give us some indication of how these women are riding and how the race is progressing before we get to that final 4.9 kilometres. That final 4.9 kilometres is the final climb of this race today, and we will see the finish line just over the top of the brow of the hill.
Well, we're definitely going to finish that segment, aren't we, higher than we started it, so it's going to have an overall net gain in altitude as they make their way through that segment. So the start of the climbing, so I think that point you made there, Emma, really is going to be key. It'll tell us who's going well, because you've got to remember, even though those climbs are timed or the segments or they are allocated as a discrete part, they're all part of the whole package. They're all part of the course, and everything that goes before will take its effect on our riders. How much effect, of course, we have yet to see who is going to be in there. But this select group of riders at the moment riding well together, and at the moment looks like most people riding reasonably comfortably in there. Jenny Tan distance from that group. So Jenny now turning her legs around to get herself in, just watching that cadence, 69, now 70 revs per minute. She's got a big gap back. She's 27th at the moment overall, but she's got nearly 3 minutes back to the chasers behind her. That is some margin.
It is indeed. And I think for Jenny, it really is a case of spin your legs to the finish line now, because actually it would be very hard to lose that 3-minute gap. So pretty much now, while she's not going to catch this front group of 26 riders on the road, I don't think the group behind her are going to catch her either. So an opportunity to spin her legs out and to ride how she wants to and how she chooses to get to the finish line today.
Indeed, and in the front we've got Olsen, we've got Schinelli, we've got Sanchez, we've got Kimona, we've got Hermansen, we've also got Jenny Sanchez, we've got Angie Parra, Alicia Lanteri, we're going to have Aroname Joy Maya up there. I think we are probably going to be talking in front of Jenny about 10 riders.
Yeah, and we're watching Ella Dadson at the moment, and it looks as though in the Category 3 race, Dadson has made an attack whilst we've been away from that race. She is now clear by 20 seconds to those riders who she was with the last time we dropped into that Category 3 race. So strong riding from Ella Dadson today.
Yeah, Dadson on form at the moment. She's pushed clear, and she is looking to take that top prize, I'm sure, here at the Sunday Race Club. And no surprise that they are absolutely flying along here. The course at the moment on that rolling terrain that will take us into the base of the final climb at Dadson at the moment, with 23 seconds now to hide Quintero. Behind it looks like Maria Lian in that group as well, and that is very interesting indeed, because as these riders continue onwards, they really have to see if they can keep on going all the way to the finish. Now just seeing a Guillermo on the front again pushing, but over the top goes Bauer at 6 watts per kilo. We're seeing it break up here. This is at 25.2k, and this is the rise to go up the step basically in this segment. So this is the rise out of the valley, out of the gorge to come up. You'll see us come once we come past the tents. We're going to come into the buildings. It will start to level, but this is going to do damage, I think, more at the back of the group than it is at the front. And is this going to split it out? It's gone to one long line. If you look at the top right-hand side of your screen, that map is well and truly strung out here today. So amazing to see just how fast Bauer has gone. But then again, we've seen her time trial to the finish before now. She's been able to do that, and the group can't afford to let her go. They knew that last week. They were all over her like her. They wouldn't let her move an inch. And that really told when we came into the finish. This time round, they're now taking the time about responding. And I think they were lulled a little bit there by the pace of it rolling along. And maybe they thought that she was content to wait to that final climb.
Well, we know Bauer attacks and Bauer goes regularly, and the field should have known that as well. She was really one they needed to watch. And Jojo Bauer, look at that, 6 watts per kilo pushing on. The class riders in this field have been sat in that group having a really easy first 40 minutes of this race today. And with 25 minutes of racing left to go, the class of Bauer, the power that she can put out and sustain in a really strong time trial effort is phenomenal for 20 minutes. So Jojo Bauer really showing her class and putting in an 12 second gap now back to the chasing group behind.
So here we go. This could be the race-winning move. Bauer getting a run on everybody on the way in. We've just gone over the top of the oasis, and it's virtually the length of that bridge, that boardwalk, separating Bauer from the chasing pack behind, who have picked the pace up somewhat, but we're now seeing a counter-attack come from Maria Marin. Maria, one of the riders who I've tipped regularly for being taking away a big victory here in the qualifiers, if not the finals. She's pushing on at 7 watts per kilo. And if Bauer can get some company, that could be curtains for everybody else behind. Fua looks like she's responding with Van Heuling, with Olivieri. But at the moment, Maria Marin has got a gap on them. But is it going to be enough? It's not. They are coming back in. But if she can get Fua to chase with her, Van Heuling potentially as well, that would be a great group to try and close it down on Jojo Bauer. But they've got to work together here, because Jojo Bauer is a phenomenal athlete, and she is somebody you cannot afford to let have any time on you. Once it's gone, so hard to pull back, even with this final climb.
It is, Matt, and the longer this group look at each other and go, are you going? No, you go. No, you go. No one's going to go, and it is just to the benefit of Bauer, because Bauer is now still out up front and she is pushing on clear. This group of riders cannot see her on the road ahead, so she has now established a 20-second lead on this chasing group. The riders in here are going to have to form a small, fast group and make a discerning effort to make the catch, or else Bauer's just put the race-winning move down.
Well, this could be game over, couldn't it? I really do think Bauer is such a dangerous rider to let go. And you kind of want your radar on you kind of want to track her all the way through. And we get a lot of data when we're riding on an esports platform we don't have in the world outside. However, you've got to be watching it like a hawk. And Bauer able to get that jump there. She kicked on that climb. She's got the gap, 20 seconds. And look at the numbers behind. 2.5, 2.6s, 1.7s on the front of that group. Nobody is putting in enough at the moment, I think, to get close to Bauer. Are they all racing for second?
Well, I think they're all thinking about the climb, Matt, and they're not thinking about the race in front of them. It's looking as though that group are going, there's still 25 of us here. We've got a big climb coming up. Am I going to waste my legs now, or shall I wait and see how I can do on the climb? And in the meantime, Bauer's gone down the road and put 22 seconds on them. So, they really need to think about, are they racing for the win? Or are they taking 25 riders into the bottom of the climb with 25 riders who are strong enough to actually do some damage to everybody?
Well, you can see them all over the road here. We had a great shot. Bauer on her own, working like a Trojan and going through that segment on her own at the front, 8:05.494. That is the time that we're looking at to compare the time of Bauer to everybody else here. Here they come, and 25 seconds quicker she went through there. She was from the back of the group to the front of the group. So Jojo Bauer, 25 seconds faster through there. You can see she's one of the very few riders who are up in that sort of 4 watts per kilo mark. Got 300 plus watts going down as well. So that is why she's gone clear. And at the moment, that, as you say, Emma, could be a race-winning move.
Yeah, it could be, Matt, because, she's still pushing on and still moving ahead. So in that short period of time, it's gone from 22 seconds to 29 seconds. She is still pulling away from this field. They are not responding and they are not doing anything about it.
Well, you can see the odd spurt, the odd surge behind. But Bauer is sitting consistently. And this is where they need to talk to each other. Is somebody going to chase down Bauer? Or are they going to go, do you know what? Let's let her get 30 seconds because we just about got her contained. If she blows, we're going to catch it. If she doesn't blow, well, we weren't going to catch her anyway. So why not just let her go? And let's concentrate on what we're doing here and focus on this, and she'll either come back or she won't. And it's a dangerous move to make, I think, but it might be the only thing left in the playbook because Bauer is such a strong athlete.
Bauer is not going to blow on this climb. Bauer knows exactly what she's doing and she's timed it to perfection. She is a consummate esports racer and we see it week after week on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. She's an outstanding racer. But let's not forget, there are also some outstanding racers in this chasing pack behind, and it's going to be really interesting to see how this race plays out with that large pack of 25 riders still chasing.
And we're just in with Dorothy Gonzalez right in here at the moment. Just distance off that main pack, 25th position now. She's got company from Angie Parra in 26th place, but the group in front is whittling down slowly. 24 riders now in the leading group as they come through. So that time continues to tick. We are now at 48 minutes of racing complete, nearly 49 minutes. We're heading for that 30-kilometer mark, which will see us enter the big climb to the finish, where that final sort out will be made. Will we see Bauer get closed down? Will anybody in this group have something to answer her? Are we going to see a climb, a super speedy climb up here by one of our lightweight riders who has the advantage of pulling less weight up to the top of the climb? It's going to take some doing that up against Bauer, who we know is a proven race winner. So here on Sunday Race Club, our race leader on the left of your screens, our chasing pack on the right of your screens. They're separated by 300 meters on the road. The time gap at the moment, well, it's still not huge, but it is starting to see a response come from the chasing group. They are starting to pick that pace up a little bit. We're starting to see riders come out of the back as we go up on to the climb. We take that right-hand turn. We're going to hit this segment start pretty much at the same time as the climb starts here. And we are now in to the big climb. It is uphill to the finish. It's a big old climb. This is what it is going to come down to, what Bauer can do 30 seconds up the road from this group chasing.
Yeah, it is indeed. It is going to be what Bauer can do, because Bauer is out 30 seconds ahead of this field as Van Hoolen puts some power on those pedals and starts to move to about 4.5, 5 watts per kilo. Manshadi is going with her, Marin and Menzies. And in fact, we've got some outstanding women in this field who are waiting to really put some power down on these pedals.
So here we go. This is where we're starting to see the wind-up come. You can see that we're on 4%, 5% soon. You can just see this climb is starting to kick in. It's a 6.2% average, but Bauer has the gap. Van Hoolen now chasing at 6.7 watts per kilo. She's nearly 2 watts per kilo higher than Bauer is time trialing in front. Who will she drag clear? It looks like Maria Marin has come over and across. Mandana Dega-Mashandi has gone as well. Bjarhed is also in the mix. Liliana Moreno is in the fight. This is going to see that battle for places start to drag its way in to this long climb behind. It looks like Gaviria leading the second category fight, but this is about who has the pace, and you can see the slope that we're going to come into around that left-hand sweeping bend. They are continuing to push. They have got to close down on Bauer if they want to take away top spot, but at the moment, all of our riders in that chasing pack pretty much back together again as the group behind a chase in and come back up basically together. It's starting to fracture again, but it certainly looks to me like the chase is on. The question is, can Bauer hang on up at the front?
I think Barry's going to hang up at the front because we're seeing this group, whilst it's starting to spread across the road and not being such a tight blob, we've got ones and twos being dropped off the back, but we're not seeing any real damage as Jojo Bauer still taps away on those pedals really comfortably. That gap is currently sitting at around 23 seconds. Van Hoolen on the front of that group with Manshandi really starting to push again on a steep section of that climb, kicking out more than 5 watts per kilo, but they're going to need to make it constant because Jojo Bauer is an absolute star at being able to sit and time trial off the front of these courses. She's done it time and time again, Matt. They really should know her race tactics.
You see, but knowing is one thing, being able to do something about it is something else again when you're confronted with a talent of a generation. And we just see Marianne Vos take the Dutch Gravel Championship title. That's the level that Bauer is at here. She's just riding away. She's so strong. And when you come up against a rider like that, you may well know that Marianne Vos is going to try and jump you in the last 200 metres. But you know what? You can't do a damn thing about it. And do you know what? I'm not sure the riders can do anything about Bauer at the moment. When she gets her timing right, she's gone. And it is only certain courses at the moment that they can deal her a race blow that stops her from winning.
Well, being compared to Marianne Vos, if you are a female rider or a male rider, any rider in the world being compared to Marianne Vos, it's an absolute compliment because an absolutely outstanding rider in everything she does.
Yeah, and very, very versatile as well. Now, just taking a look at this group, you can see here we're in with Louisa, who is in the 20th position, and it shows you where those groups are in front because it's 10 seconds up the road to Galama, who's in the back of the main pack, who are chasing our race leader behind Lanteri, Hermansen, Bjarhead and co. Are at least 10, if not 12 seconds back to the nearest rider. And it means that Osario at the moment has work to do to get back just this chase in group. This is our leaders in category 2 and our chasers in category 1. The rider that all are being distanced by is Jojo Bauer, who is still holding that 30-second lead. Now, this for me is about timing because we are now at 32.2k. If you want to take away a prize here, 5 prizes in category 2, 5 in category 1, you've got to get your timing right because everybody has stayed together pretty much. And when you get your timing right now, you're going to be able to go clear. But will you do it too soon and get caught? You can't do repeated kicks and recovery constantly to the end of the race because it's just not going to happen. But time is running out to do it. So the options are being limited all the time. And the recovery time from kicking and getting caught is being diminished with every pedal stroke. So at the moment, we have 2.5k to go. Maria Marin is pushing on here at 4 watts per kilo, 5 watts per kilo. She gets a response from Van Heuling, but Bauer is time trialing away in front, still sitting at that 30-second marker. This group is really just shedding bodies out the back. They're not going clear at the front.
No, well, we went into the bottom of this climb, Matt, with 24 riders in the leading group, 1 rider down the road and 23 chasing. The chase group now is pretty much down to around 13, 14 riders. So they have been shelling riders like crazy every time there is a kick. But there is still a large group of riders as we see someone make the opportunity to close down the gap having been dropped and get back on. So this group is sitting at around 3 watts per kilo. We've seen Van Heulen, Marin, Manshandi try to put an effort on at the front. In fact, Marin is moving forward again, Van Heulen coming up again. But no one has actually broken away from this group. Maria Marin goes again, Oliveri following through, Van Heulen. These are class riders, but they are not doing enough damage to each other. We are coming up to 2 kilometres to go to the finish line. This is going to be an exciting finish.
It's almost going to be a group sprint. Not bunch sprint, but a group sprint at the top if they're not careful. Now we're seeing a push by Marin at 5.8 watts per kilo. She's been answered pretty much straight away, but it looks like she's going to try and continue onwards. Jarioni goes up with her as well. So those second category riders are still in the mix as they push up. Stefania Gaviria in that fight as well. So you can just see Elenia Cinelli in here. There are still 4, by my reckoning, 4 category, if not 5 category 2 riders. My apologies, 5 category 2 riders in the fight here in this group. They're fighting for the top 5 positions. We've also got the riders fighting for second downwards, unless we see Jojo Bauer blow apart in the last K or so. She's well up the road at the moment. It must be closing in on that final kilometre marker.
Yeah, we are indeed getting there, aren't we? Because we do not have a long amount of tarmac left as we start to see another kick go off the front. But do you know what, Matt? There's still no consistent attack coming from that chase group. As we drop back in here, as Galuma, who previously was in that group, is now catching a Category 2 rider, Carmona, who has also been dropped. Cinelli is slightly further up the road, but again been dropped from that group. These are now, you can see from the time gaps, in 1s and 2s on the road and scattered around as they went into that climb together and are no longer with that lead group.
Well, look who's gone on the front, who isn't with the lead group, but she's not with them in the right way. Maria Marin has gone off the front. She's chosen a moment. This is going to be it. She knows that she probably can do this once to go clear at nearly 8 watts per kilo at peak. She's now on the hunt. She knows that she is chasing Jojo Bauer, and Marin went through there quicker than Bauer. She closed 23 seconds down on Bauer in the segment of the climb, and that is how much pace that she had put into her. And at the moment, Bauer has gone from being 30 seconds in front to hovering around about that 15-second marker in front of Marin, who has 6 seconds to the chasing group behind. So if you look on that screen, who's missing from that screen? Jojo Bauer. Bauer is a long way down. To give you an indication of her time, on the screen, we've got the riders, the rider who is way down is Jojo Bauer. She's 23 seconds off the pace of Maria Marin.
But Bauer is probably only got around 600 metres to go now, Matt. And that's probably all she's got left to hold. But we've got no idea at the moment as we look at these screen of these numbers and times through this segment, and we ship back over to Bauer. 800 metres to go. Bauer is still in the lead. Maria Marin, 16 seconds back. Another 5 seconds back to Manshandi. Oliveri, Menzies, the group are behind. This is getting closer. This is getting tighter. And I don't know whether Bauer is going to run out of road or not.
Well, it's going to be tight, isn't it, as they come in and through. So fantastic riding here. Remember, this is for the fight for prizes. This is Category 1 leader on the road. Category 2 leaders behind are fighting in that chasing pack as well. It's going to be very close. This is a chasing group. They're trying to close down Marin in front. Bauer is looking very, very good at the moment. I think Bauer is going to almost be in on her way in, Emma. Is your money on Bauer? Do you think she can bring it home? I think she surely must do.
Oh, with 300 metres to go, Matt, we've got Bauer tapping out these time trial pace. She is still clear from Marin by 15 seconds, but Marin is seriously putting some power down because she's noticed whether she can actually make the catch or not. Menzies, 8 watts per kilo. Fua, Manshandi, that group behind is starting to fight as Bauer sees the finish line, and Bauer is going to take this race by an amazing time trial effort off the front of that. Jojo Bauer takes the win.
So Jojo Bauer getting the confetti for the win here, and great riding by her. The battle behind is going to be tight. It's Maria Marin who takes that second place in and over the line.
And the kick, Matt, for Category 2 win. That was absolutely outstanding. A group line ride race for that finish for that Category 2 with Garioni taking it from Sanchez by 0.7 of a second. Absolutely phenomenal sprint there between Garioni and Sanchez. Karub Quevedo, who did that massive chase today after a shocking start, takes 5th place with Catherine Fua in 6th, Menzies in 7th, Oliveri 8th. Wow.
That was some finish. And Jojo Bauer's effort, I mean, she comes through in the end 11.518 seconds clear in that Category 1 competition from Maria Marin in 2nd. In Category 1, it's Karuk Quevedo taking 3rd, with Catherine Fua taking 4th, and Jessica Menendez taking 5th place. That was a cracking finish in the second category races as well. Garioni, as Emma's just said, from Sanchez, and then Olsen. Julie Sanchez taking the race behind. So Martina Garioni, Jenny Sanchez, followed by Morgan Olsen and Julie Sanchez. And they come through the category 2 riders. Then I think it's going to be Chinelli and Julie Sanchez who come through to round that out. But fantastic to see a great race here today. Amazing racing here, Emma. It sets us up nicely for our finals.
Oh, I cannot wait for the October final next Sunday, Matt, because not just individual, but the team categories and the team racing will really come into play, and it makes it so much more exciting. Not that it's not exciting enough.
It's great, isn't it? And those team dynamics are going to come into play. Emma, I know you're going to be doing your homework. If riders want to get in touch with you, who do they need to get in touch with?
Oh, yes. If you want to get in touch, you can find me on social media at Biking Emma, or you can contact us through Full Speed Events social media channels as well.
Always great to catch up with our riders and get that info. Don't forget, of course, we will be bringing you all of the action on the MyWhoosh YouTube channel. Make sure you subscribe, tick that box on there. Make sure you follow MyWhoosh at MyWhoosh on Facebook, on Instagram, my_whoosh on Twitter. And jump on, come and join us for a ride. From me, Matt Payne, from Emma, stay safe. We will see you, I hope, next week for our finals in October. Thank you very much. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.